I'm 82 years old. My name is Claire. I was a nurse for 36 years. I was married for 54 years to the same man. He died 5 years ago. I don't have much time left. My body knows it. My doctor knows it. Maybe a few more years if I'm lucky. And there's something I need to tell you before I go. Something I've been thinking about every single day since James died. Something that took me 40 years to understand wrong and another 15 to understand right. For 40 years of my marriage, I believed that sex was what held everything together. When James was 65 and I was 65, I spent the next 5 years thinking our marriage was over, that we were just waiting for death to make it official. I was wrong. What I'm about to tell you, no one talks about. Not your doctor, not your friends, not the magazines that spent 40 years telling me how to keep the spark alive. I'm going to tell you what really happens when sex ends in a long marriage, and why those might be the best years you'll ever have. This is hard to admit, but you need to hear it. It started in 1967. I was 25 years old, newly married to James. He was 26, working at an insurance company. I was finishing nursing school, and everywhere I looked, the message was the same. Sex is the foundation of marriage. If that goes, everything goes. The magazines at the grocery store checkout, 10 ways to keep your husband interested. The movies, older couples who stopped having sex either got divorced or lived in miserable, silent houses. My own mother pulled me aside before the wedding and said, "Claire, a man has needs. You keep him satisfied. The marriage works." I believed it. Of course I believed it. Of course I believed it. For 40 years, sex was our thermometer. If we were having sex regularly, the marriage was healthy. If we went a week without, I'd worry. If we went 2 weeks, we'd fight about something else entirely, but I knew what it was really about. We never connect anymore, I'd say. What I meant was, we haven't had sex in 12 days. James would know what I meant. We'd fix it. The thermometer would reset. Everything was fine. For 40 years, that was our pattern. Sex equaled connection, equaled marriage working. And then James turned 65. It started with a doctor's appointment. Prostate issues, nothing dramatic at first, just changes. Sex became uncomfortable for him, then painful, then difficult, then impossible. We were 65 years old. We'd been married 40 years. And suddenly, the thing I'd been told was the foundation of marriage, the thing I'd measured our relationship by for 4 decades, was gone. At first, we fought it. Pills, different doctors. A urologist in the city who promised solutions. A therapist who gave us exercises and homework. We tried everything. James hated it. The appointments made him feel broken. The pills made him sick. The exercises felt like work, like we were forcing something that used to be natural. One night in 2009, we were 67 years old. He sat on the edge of our bed and said, "Claire, I can't do this anymore." I knew what he meant. We stopped trying, and I thought, this is it. This is where the marriage ends. We'll stay together because we're too old to divorce, because of the kids, because it's easier. But it's over. I didn't say that out loud, but I thought it every day. For the next 5 years, from 2007 to 2012, I mourned our marriage while still living in it. We'd sit together watching television. He'd reach for my hand. I'd hold it. But in my head, I was thinking, this is what we've become. Roommates, 2 old people waiting to die. We'd have dinner together every night. We'd talk about our day, our kids, our grandchildren. We'd laugh at the same shows we'd been watching for 30 years. But underneath it all, I felt this constant hum of loss. The magazines I used to read, the ones that told me how to keep the passion alive, I couldn't look at them anymore. They felt like evidence of our failure. I'd see younger couples holding hands at the grocery store and think, they still have it, we don't. I remember one Sunday in particular. It was 2010. Nothing special about that day, which is exactly my point. We were sitting on the porch. James was reading the newspaper. I was doing a crossword puzzle. The sun was warm. We could hear our neighbor mowing his lawn. James looked up and said, "This is nice." And I smiled and said, "Yes." But inside I was thinking, this is all we have now. This quiet, this nothing. I thought quiet meant dead. I didn't know quiet could mean peace. The shift happened slowly, so slowly I didn't notice it at first. Around 2012, we were 70 years old. I stopped waiting for something to change. I stopped mourning what we'd lost. Not because I accepted it, I just got tired of being sad. And without that weight, I started noticing other things. The way James would make my coffee every morning, exactly how I liked it, even though I'd never asked him to. The way he'd pause the TV if I left the room, even if I was just getting water. The way he'd tell me stories I'd heard 100 times before, but he'd still laugh at the same parts, and I'd still laugh with him. These weren't new things. He'd been doing them for 40 years, but I'd never counted them before. I'd never thought they mattered compared to sex. One evening in 2015, we were 73. James had a bad day. His heart was starting to give him trouble. He was tired, frustrated, scared. We were sitting on the couch. He put his head on my shoulder. We sat like that for an hour. Didn't talk. Didn't move. Just existed together. And I thought, when did this start meaning more than sex ever did? I couldn't pinpoint the moment. But somewhere in those 8 years without sex, we built something I didn't have a word for. Not passion, not romance. Something quieter, something deeper. In 2018, we were 76 years old. Our daughter came to visit with her husband. We all had dinner together. Afterward, James and I were cleaning up. Our daughter and her husband were in the living room, and we could hear them arguing. Not yelling, just that tense, clipped way couples argue when they're trying to be quiet. You never listen to me. I do listen to me. You just don't like what I say. That's not you're doing it right now. James and I looked at each other. We didn't say anything. We just smiled, because we'd had that exact fight 1,000 times in our first 30 years of marriage, but we didn't have it anymore. Not because we'd fixed it with some technique or therapy. We'd just outgrown it. Later that night, after they'd gone home, James said, "Remember when we used to fight like that?" "Every week," I said. "I don't miss it." "Me neither." We sat there in the quiet, holding hands, and I realized this is intimacy. This is what I thought sex was giving us for 40 years. But sex had been the distraction, the noise we made so we didn't have to learn how to be quiet together. James died in 2022. Heart failure. He was 80 years old. I was 77. At his funeral, our son gave the eulogy. He talked about how James was patient, kind, how he never raised his voice, how he and I had the kind of love you see in movies. I sat there thinking the best years of that love, the truest years, were the ones without sex, and no one knew. No one would understand if I said it out loud. After the funeral, I went through his things. Not right away. It took me a few months. I found a notebook in his nightstand, just a small one. He'd been writing in it sporadically over the years. One entry from 2008, a year after we'd stopped having sex. Claire seems sad. I think she thinks we're falling apart. I don't know how to tell her I've never felt closer to her. Another, from 2013, watched TV with C tonight, held her hand, she fell asleep on my shoulder. This is enough. This is more than enough. Another from 2019, C asked me today if I missed it. I said no. She looked surprised, but it's true. I don't miss performing. I don't miss performing. I don't miss worrying if I'm good enough. I just like being with her. That's all I ever wanted. I sat on our bed and cried. Not because he was gone. I mean, yes, because of that. But also because of the years I wasted. 2007 to 2012. 5 years. 5 years I spent thinking our marriage was ending when James was sitting right next to me thinking it was finally beginning. 5 years I spent mourning sex when he was discovering peace. If you're doing this right now, if you're in a long marriage and the sex has slowed down or stopped you, probably think something is broken. You probably think this is the beginning of the end. You're lying next to someone at night and wondering when you became roommates instead of lovers. I know, I thought that too. And society will tell you you're right. The magazines will tell you to reignite the spark. The advice columns will tell you to schedule date nights, buy lingerie, try new things, as if the problem is that you're not trying hard enough. But maybe the problem is that you're measuring the wrong thing. For 40 years, I measured my marriage by sex, how often, how good, how connected we felt during. I never measured the coffee he made me every morning. I never measured the way he'd stop what he was doing if I needed to talk. I never measured the 1,000 tiny moments of being chosen, being seen, being known, because society told me those things were just baseline. What you're supposed to do, the real intimacy, the proof the marriage was alive was sex. What a lie. I did this with my own body too. When the sex stopped, I felt invisible, like I'd stopped being a woman, like my body had betrayed me by getting old. James never made me feel that way. He'd tell me I was beautiful. He'd touch my face, my hands, my hair. But I didn't believe him, because in my mind, desirable meant sexually desirable. And if we weren't having sex, I must not be desirable. I wasted years hating my 65-year-old body because it wasn't my 25-year-old body. And James would look at me like I was crazy. Claire, he'd say, I love you. That hasn't changed. But I thought love meant wanting. And if he didn't want me sexually, how could he love me? Now I understand he did want me, just not in the way I'd been taught to recognize. He wanted my company, my laugh, my hand in his while we watched TV. He wanted me there, present, real. That's desire, that's want. I just couldn't see it because I was too busy looking for something else. I see this everywhere now. My friend Linda is 78. Her husband is 79. They stopped having sex 6 years ago. She told me last month, I don't know how much longer we have together, and I feel like we're already gone. I wanted to shake her. I wanted to say, you're not gone. You're right there. You're having coffee together every morning. You're holding hands at church. You're finishing each other's sentences. That's not gone. That's everything. But she can't see it because she's measuring the wrong thing. My son is 52. He's been married 28 years. Last Sunday at dinner, I watched him and his wife. They weren't talking much. They were on their phones during dessert. And I thought, they're so busy trying to maintain some idea of what marriage should look like, they're missing what it actually is. They think they need to schedule date nights and weekend getaways to keep things alive. But what they need is to look up from their phones and see each other. So what do you do instead? Here's what I wish I'd known. Number 1, stop measuring your marriage by sex. I know this is hard. I know society has told you your entire life that sex equals intimacy equals a healthy relationship. But ask yourself, is that actually true in your experience? Think about the moments you felt closest to your partner. Really close. Seen. Known. How many of those moments were during sex? And how many were in the kitchen making breakfast? On the couch watching a show? In the car talking about nothing? If sex ends or slows down significantly, it doesn't mean intimacy ends. It means you have to learn to recognize intimacy in its other forms. Start today. Notice one moment of connection that has nothing to do with sex, just one, a laugh, a shared look, a comfortable silence. That's intimacy. Count it. Number 2, touch without expectation. When sex was off the table, James and I had to relearn how to touch each other. For 40 years, touch had been foreplay. A hand on my shoulder meant he wanted something. A kiss meant it was leading somewhere. When that stopped, we were both awkward, like teenagers who didn't know where to put our hands. But slowly, we learned. His hand on my shoulder just meant, I'm here. A kiss just meant, I love you. Touch became communication instead of transaction. Today, right now, touch your partner without it leading anywhere. Hold their hand, kiss their forehead, hug them for 10 seconds. Not as a prelude to something else, just as a statement, you matter to me. You'll be surprised how much that simple touch means when it's not asking for anything. Number 3, say the quiet part out loud. For 5 years, I was terrified our marriage was ending, and I never said it to James. I just carried it alone, suffering in silence because I was ashamed to admit I was mourning sex. Finally, in 2012, I said it. We were eating breakfast. I put my fork down and said, James, are we okay? He looked confused. Of course we're okay. Why? Because we're not, you know. He took my hand and said, Claire, I don't need that to know we're okay. I need you. That's all. Why did I wait 5 years to hear that? Because I was afraid. Afraid he'd confirm my worst fear. Afraid talking about it would make it more real. But silence is worse than fear. You were worried about something in your relationship, say it out loud to your partner. I'm scared we're drifting apart. I miss feeling close to you. I don't know if you still want me. Say the thing you're afraid to say today. You might be surprised what you hear back. Number 4, redefine what romantic means. For decades, romance meant candles, lingerie, wine, sex. When sex stopped, I thought romance stopped too. But James didn't. He'd still buy me flowers. Not for anniversaries or birthdays, just because he saw them and thought of me. He'd still write me little notes. Went to the store. Love you. He'd still turn off the game if I wanted to talk. That's romance. That's love in action. I just couldn't see it because it didn't look like what the movies told me it should look like. Today, redefine romance for yourself. It's not grand gestures. It's not expensive dinners. It's the person who knows how you take your coffee, who listens when you talk, who chooses you every day in 1,000 small ways. Notice that. Name it. Say thank you for it. Number 5, let go of the script. Society gives us a script for marriage. Date, fall in love, get married, have sex, lots of sex, forever. And when your marriage doesn't follow that script, when sex slows down or stops, you think you failed. But real marriages don't follow scripts. They evolve. What you need at 25 is not what you need at 45, is not what you need at 65. At 25, James and I needed passion. We were building a life. We needed that fire. At 45, we needed partnership. We were raising kids, building careers. We needed teamwork. At 65, we needed peace. We needed to just be together. Without performing, without proving. None of those stages was more important than the others. They were all necessary, but I spent 5 years thinking the last stage. The piece was a failure because it didn't look like the first stage. Let your marriage evolve. Don't hold it to a script written for 25-year-olds when you're 65. What you need now might be different than what you needed then. That's not failure. That's growth. Number 6, stop performing. This is the big one. For 40 years, I felt like I was performing. In bed, in life, trying to be the woman James wanted, the woman society said I should be. Sexy, available, young. And it was exhausting. When sex stopped, I thought I'd failed the performance, that I wasn't enough anymore. But slowly, I realized James never wanted a performance. He wanted me, tired me, messy me. 70-year-old me with gray hair and soft belly and reading glasses, that me. The performance had been for my benefit, to feel worthy, to feel desired, but I was always worthy. I was always desired. I just couldn't believe it until I stopped performing and he was still there. Today, stop performing. Even for one day, don't suck in your stomach. Don't fix your hair. Don't try to be anything other than exactly who you are in this moment. See if your partner loves you anyway. They will. Number 7, ask for what you actually need. For years, when I felt disconnected from James, I'd think, we need to have sex, but that's not what I actually needed. What I needed was, talk to me, see me, choose me. I needed conversation, attention, presence. But I'd been taught that the way to get those things was through sex. So I'd initiate sex when what I really wanted was to feel close. And sometimes sex made me feel close. But often it didn't. Often I'd lie there afterward thinking that's not what I needed. After sex stopped, I had to learn to ask for what I actually needed. James, can we just talk? Will you sit with me? I need to feel close to you right now. And he'd give me that immediately, fully. It was always there. I'd just been asking for the wrong thing. Today, ask for what you actually need, not what you think you're supposed to need. If you need to talk, ask to talk. If you need to be held, ask to be held. If you need to sit in silence together, ask for that. Your partner can't read your mind. Give them the real request. Number 8, grieve what you've lost, then move forward. I'm not saying the end of sex doesn't matter. It does. It's a loss, a real one, and you're allowed to grieve it. I grieved it. For 5 years I grieved it. But at some point you have to decide, am I going to stay in grief or am I going to see what else is here? There's a difference between acknowledging loss and building a shrine to it. I built a shrine. For 5 years, I made the loss of sex the center of my marriage. Every conversation, every moment of closeness, every quiet evening, I filtered it all through the lens of what we didn't have anymore, and I missed what we did have. Grieve. Yes. Feel the loss. Talk about it. But don't let it become your identity. At some point, you have to look around and say, okay, what's here now? What can I build with this? The answer might surprise you. James died 5 years ago. I think about him every day. Not the big moments, not our wedding or the births of our children or the vacations we took. I think about Tuesday nights on the couch, his hand in mine, the way he paused the TV if I needed to say something. I think about Sunday mornings, coffee on the porch, watching the birds, not talking, just there. Those last 15 years, from 65 to 80, were the best years of our marriage. Not the most exciting, not the most passionate, the most real. But I wasted the first 5 of those 15 years mourning something that didn't matter as much as I thought it did. I can't get those years back. I can't go back to 2008 and tell myself, Claire, you're not losing him. You're finding him. But you can. If you're in a long marriage and the sex has slowed or stopped, you're not at the end. He might be at the beginning of something deeper than you've ever had. But you have to stop measuring it by the old metrics. You have to learn to see intimacy in a different language. Touch without expectation, presence without performance, love without transaction. It's there. It's been there all along. You just have to stop looking past it. I'm 82 years old now. Widow for 5 years. I live alone in the house James and I shared for 50 years. Some days I sit on our couch, the same couch we sat on for thousands of Tuesday nights, and I hold my own hand because his isn't here to hold anymore. And I think I'm so grateful we had those last 15 years. I'm so grateful we learned how to be quiet together, how to just exist in the same space without needing anything from each other except presence. But I'm so angry I wasted 5 of those years thinking we were dying when we were actually healing. 5 years I spent measuring the wrong thing. Don't do that. Don't wait until it's too late to recognize what you have. If someone loves you, really loves you, they're showing you every single day in 1,000 tiny ways. The coffee, the pause TV, the comfortable silences. That's not settling. That's not the end. That's love without the noise. See it, count it, treasure it. It's too late for me. James is gone. But it's not too late for you. They're still there, right there. Go.